Little Napoleon Emmanuel Macron has called a summit of the important EU leaders in Paris tomorrow. The fallout continues from the extraordinary performance of the US Vice President J.D. Vance, who slayed them all in his speech in Munich. He slayed them on multiple levels. He told them to stop complaining about Russia and China. Your main enemy is at home, he said. Your leaders who have destroyed the European spirit, who have destroyed European civilization, who have destroyed freedom of speech and destroyed democracy. You are your own worst enemies, said J.D. Vance, and how right he was. The people of Europe were cheering from the rafters, but the leaders of Europe went into what can only be described as a collective nervous breakdown. The yapping chihuahuas of the so-called Baltic states, well, they were ready to march to Kiev with their entire armed forces. Maybe in single file it would have looked more impressive. But the German government went completely bananas. I say German government, though Germany actually doesn't really have a government at this point in time, and those who pretend to be its government are about to be swept away in a landslide defeat in the general election in Germany in just a few days' time. We'll be talking to one of the candidates from Hamburg, from the Sarah Wagenknecht faction, who is contesting a seat in that election in just an hour or so. But the French government too, and perhaps particularly, worst of all, as you might have expected, was Keir Starmer, the sub-Churchillian mutt who runs the United Kingdom. I say runs, but the only thing that's running in the United Kingdom is us running into the ground. The only person less popular on the entire European electoral and political stage would be Macron and Schulz. But between the three of them, they could barely muster 30% of public opinion behind them. And that's all three of them put together. The truth is that Keir Starmer's vainglorious pledge that Britain will ensure that Ukraine joins NATO after the leader and mainstay of NATO, the United States, has declared that Ukraine will never join NATO, is an indication that Keir Starmer has taken leave of his senses. He has declared war not only on Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation, but Donald Trump and the United States of America. This in a country rapidly going bankrupt. This in a country facing an almighty recession. This in a country whose old people are shivering through a cold winter without even the minimal benefit of the cold weather allowance that they were formerly paid, which was axed to give the entire money and more to Volodymyr Zelensky. This man is the head of a country whose armed forces would have comfortably fit into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this afternoon, with room for a lot of double-decker buses behind both goals. This is a man whose Royal Navy has been run down to the point of parody. This is a man who cannot recruit or retain soldiers. This is a man who only has nuclear weapons. That's when they are working. That's when the submarines are not snarled up in Faslane. And that's, of course, dependent on the United States agreeing to allow the British to fire what are effectively joint-controlled nuclear weapons. And, of course, firing our nuclear weapons at Russia means national extinction within the next 12 minutes. A rather Pyrrhic victory, one might say.